Agile Workbench is really the first of many innovations we plan to roll out that will enable fast, optimized decisions at the speed of business, and it'll eventually blur the line between planning and execution, enabling our customers to have agile, resilient, and profitable supply chains. Now, there were really three key design principles as we were developing this workbench. The first design principle was indeed this desire to have both speed and optimization. Now, there are people that believe that you have to give up on optimization if you have to be very, very responsive. We did not believe that. In fact, we challenged our development team to give us both, and they delivered. If you're making fast decisions, hasty decisions, without a view of the bigger picture and without making the right cost-benefit trade-offs, you may get a false sense of control. You may be able to cope with changes, but that's not a very profitable way to run your business. So we wanted both. And one of the things we learned as we did our R&D activities was that actually better planning, proactive risk analysis, and solid preparation helps you respond fast and smart during execution. So that was one of the key takeaways from our work. Now, a second design principle we followed was what I call the power tool paradigm. Now, if you look at a power drill, the brute force is in this drill, and the skill of maneuvering and guiding the drill is coming from the human being. And the combination of the two working together is a very practical, economic, and efficient solution to the problem of drilling a hole. You can have a numerically controlled machine that drills the perfect hole, but it's much more expensive and not as practical, can't be taken everywhere, and so on and so forth. So similarly, we wanted to use the power tool paradigm in managing the planner's day-to-day exceptions. We wanted to bring the horsepower of the constraint network of the in-memory simulation engine, in-memory optimization, and so on. So that represents all the complex constraints of a supply chain and brings the strong intellectual property of our deep optimization algorithms at the fingertips of the planner. But then we provide packaged resolutions, suggestions, levers that the planner finally chooses which ones to use. So we have a good mixture between subjective judgment and brute force optimization and horsepower from the computing power. So that's the power tool paradigm. So the second key principle. Now, a third key principle is the plan, do, check, act paradigm. In here, what we wanted to do was combine the power of predictive analytics, diagnostic algorithms, and our process playbooks, workflows that allow our users to go through a structured analysis of how they resolve a problem. And the idea was every time you use JDA software, you and the software are getting smarter. So over time, we're able to detect the patterns of what kinds of problems were resolved with what kind of resolution levers, what kind of diagnostic root causes were verified in actual execution, and so on, so that we can suggest the best resolution based on recent experience as you go along. That is the underpinning of what the Agile Workbench is trying to do. It doesn't do it all yet, but it's where we're going.
So we conducted user research to understand the persona of the users that use our solution, and with an intention to enhance the user experience for those personas. So what we did was we went to many companies and interviewed master planners who are our primary users to understand what is their role in the organization, what are their career and educational backgrounds, what are things that make their job enjoyable, and what are things that frustrate them through the course of the day and the week. And we conducted this user interviews across a wide range of industries, ranging from semiconductor manufacturers all the way to those that manufacture hot dogs and ketchup. And we did learn quite a lot of things from this user research. So one of the things was that it's always a race against time for planners. They're always rushing to go to meetings, time to publish the plan, time to catch up with Asia planners. And they're looking for a lot of information all in one place because they need all that information to make even one decision. So one surprising thing that we saw was that many of these planners had 2 or 3 monitors on their desktop. And their message was, yeah, we need all that information and at one glance. So that essentially told us that we have to design our system such a way that you could provide a lot of visibility to all the key pieces of information all in one place. And the other interesting thing was that planners had grown their expectations so much that they are not willing to wait for more than 2 seconds to get the information they want. So right then we knew that that's the response time that we have to incorporate in our solutions. The other key learning that we had was around driven by organization, but it did have a profound implications on our solution, which is that many of our planners have spent 20 years in the industry, and on average they have been 8 to 10 years with their company. But it does happen many times that junior planners join the organization, and it takes them 6 to 12 months to ramp up on and become effective. So the challenge they had was how can the system learn from the experienced planners and preserve that knowledge so that new planners that onboard the organization can learn very quickly. So what that told us was that the system, as the planners are using our solution, we have to persist the planner's actions and keep track of all the historical actions and how effective those actions were and incorporate that into the software. And so that when any planner, any new planner uses our solutions, they are guided with actions from the past and tells them that here are 3 options that planners have done in the past and this is how effective each option was. So that any new planner can easily take the same decisions that an experienced planner would have taken.
The in-memory optimization capabilities in our portfolio helped us to narrow down on this piece pretty quickly so that we can process the request, provide answers and render it in the UI in a kind of real-time environment. The tolerance for our users was less than 3 seconds, so we had to make sure that we provide real quick updates on any exceptions that they were working on. One of the interesting innovation is how we provide each of the planner with his own private scenario while we have the actual base scenario in place. So this provides the ability for him to work on his scenario and he can commit it anytime, so without stepping into the shoes of someone else. So he can do his own things and we provide the ability to sync up things pretty seamlessly, pretty effortlessly and so on. The second is more around looking at the plan in a more visual manner, so you will be able to see the supply chain, the root constraints in a visual manner. So it's like a picture is worth 1,000 words. So instead of having a lot of numbers on the spreadsheet, now you see graphically, you can use the resolution lever. So these are pre-built levers which they can work on, and it's more like just at a click of a button they can solve the problem. So it's one click to solve their problems, which I think is very cool.
Since it was a memory centric, because we wanted a very good performance on the user interface, we went for a memory centric approach rather than a database centric approach. And this meant that we had to balance every time the memory and the performance. So both once we let's say if we spend more time and in analyzing which would be what we need to do for each and every element in the whole product, whether we should store it or we should pre-compute it or we should calculate it on the fly. Calculation on the fly would mean that performance will be impacted, while if you store it, the memory would be impacted. So this was a balance which we had to strike, and we had to analyze for each and every element in the whole this thing. So that was one of the big challenge. So we said we laid down the rules that there will be minimum number of clicks for performing any function, and the planner will have to go through minimal number of screens to execute an entire workflow. So essentially, if you see the solution, there is one workbench on which the planner can do almost resolution for everything. So all the functions are clubbed in one screen. So what happens is that enables the context to be still there in the screen. The planner doesn't lose the context when he clicks on the next workflow step.
So with Agile Workbench, we were able to bring the power of optimized planning to the task of managing exceptions day to day. With this workbench, master planners in a variety of industries, whether they're manufacturers or distributors, are able to be responsive to the changes in the supply chain and drive profitability at the same time.